So 75 years ago on May the 8th, it was Victory in Europe Day. And all around the world, Canada, Britain, America, everyone came out to celebrate the end of the war. The treaty had actually been signed the day earlier, but that was the day that the people were able to gather. It certainly wasn't the end of the war. The Pacific Front was still going on, and America primarily fighting with Japan. But of course, the Canadians were getting ready to go into that fray. And of course, we did have a couple of regiments that had been caught at Hong Kong who were prisoners of war over in Japan. From a Canadian perspective, over 1 million Canadians signed up to fight in the war. Airmen, soldiers, and Navy. Of those, 55,000 were casualties or wounded, and 42,000 paid the supreme sacrifice. So with the COVID-19 pandemic that we're all experiencing, it put a kibosh, if you will, on the plans that the City of Barrie and the Barrie Veterans Clubs intended for this year. So the event that we have is a virtual presentation on the Barrie Public Library's social media. And that link will be broadcast by them on Friday in the morning. So the actual presentation is broken out into 6 modules. There's an introduction set of about 10 or 12 slides, and then we go into the early years of the war, 1939 to 1943, and then the Italian campaign, where the men who fought there, some 100,000 Canadians, were known as the D-Day Dodgers for not being part of the Northwest Europe campaign, which took place in 1944. The Northwest campaign began in earnest in 1944, highlighted by June 6 D-Day in 1944, and continued on until the end of the war. Those troops that were in Italy joined the others that were fighting in the Northwest Europe campaign in February of 1945. So as part of the commemoration of the May the 8th and VE Day here in Barrie, Bill Sargent, who's the chairman of the 441 Huronia Wing, has allotted or lined up 7 different churches who still have church bells to ring them at 11 a.m. in commemoration of Victory in Europe. And to get them lined up, it was a simple call out to the churches and offer up the services of some of our veterans to assist in ringing the bells. On the Barrie Cenotaph, there are 63 names recorded as paying the supreme sacrifice. Of course, there were many others who fought and came home, and many, of course, who were wounded that are not recognized on the Barrie Cenotaph. This presentation tries to pay homage to those who did come home as well as those who paid the supreme sacrifice. What have we learned in the last 75 years? Well, we've learned that we owe a debt of gratitude to the many, many World War II veterans and those that have come before and, of course, afterwards who serve our nation. It's never easy to go into war. It's never easy to sign up and then to realize that you're in the war for 4 or 5 or 6 years. And that's what those men did back in that time. And of course, 50,000 women also participated in World War II, primarily in the areas of support, but of course involved in nursing stations throughout England and throughout Europe. So for us at the Barrie Veterans Clubs, including the Barrie Legion, we have to thank and owe a debt of gratitude to the City of Barrie for coming up with this idea about the virtual memorial. And of course the Barrie Public Library, who allowed us to use their facilities and support us through this. So it is hoped that if and when the pandemic is over, and hopefully that's later that summer, that we'll be able to pick it up and perhaps have a public event about the victory in Europe and victory in Japan as well in August.